All right, so once you're getting ready to check out and break everything down, first thing you want to do is fill up your city water. So that's going to be right here, the fresh tank. So you want to fill up here, connect your water line to the fresh tank. It takes, from 0 to full, it takes about 10-15 minutes. So you'll plug up there, check the monitor, and it'll let you know once it gets to 100. Next thing you'll want to do is clear out your black tank. So I like to flush it, just kind of clean it out to get anything left in there before we take off. So what I do is close both the gray and the black tank valves here, and then we'll turn on the water, let that run for about 5 minutes, and then we'll open the black tank and let that water, that clean water, flush out through the hoses. So I'll do that, and I'll do that on both the front and the mid and the back tanks. So we'll get that done, and then we'll show you the rest of the way. For all these connections, they kind of spin to tighten the hose on there. So once you kind of get this hose in place, you just start spinning the connection here on this flush tank. And this is the same thing on the city and the fresh tank fill. So once you have it tightened, you'll see it's pretty tight near at the base here. It's pretty much on there secure. Once you can't physically tighten it anymore, you should be good to go. Now this is the flush, so I've already closed both of my valves, and now I'll start filling up water. I'll give that a couple minutes, and then I'll flush that water right through the hose again. All right, so I let this run for a few minutes just to kind of fill up some of that clean water. We did the same thing there. There's no exact science to how much time you have to put in there. A couple minutes, 2-3 minutes should be fine, just to get enough water in there to flush out anything that's remaining. So I'll disconnect my water line, and then we'll open that black tank, and all that clean water now is going to flush through. And you can see here, it's clean water flushing through, so that's a good sign. We don't obviously want to see any brown. If I see brown or discolored water, then I will flush it again. But in this case, we see clear water, so we know we've cleaned it out pretty effectively. You don't always have to leave the valve closed. So one thing I do also is you can leave the valve open, run the water, and then as you can see, it's flushing through clear. So it's flushing through as it goes through. I like to do the first flush, like right as you're closing down, with it closed, so then that way it can fill up that clean water, and anything that might be on the sides, it can really kind of get in there and flush it, use that gravity with a lot of the water pressure to flush it through. This is good just as a last second if you see a little something, just to kind of flush it through with the valve open. Disconnecting the sewer lines, very important. You want to make sure you close valves before you disconnect them. So make sure both valves are closed. I always disconnect at the coach first. So I'll disconnect from here, and then any remaining water, I want to make sure I let gravity do what it do and get any of that lost water. You see that water flowing out? So sometimes there's little spots in the hose where it doesn't quite drain. So we want to make sure we get all that water out before we collapse this. Now, one thing you can do too is I always like to cap it as I go. So with this hose, because it's kind of rigid, just for storage, you want to make sure you collapse it all the way down before you cap it. Because if you cap it first, you can't collapse it. Air is going to be trapped in there, obviously. So just make sure you do that before you cap them off. So this one's all drained out. And we can cap this one. Whoa, I just talked about that. So quick note, before you drain the second line, you want to cap this end off so water doesn't pour out. All right, so once you get these on, this handle just snaps back on both ends. So you just kind of stretch it out. Pretty simple, done. And that way you can throw it back in for storage. We'll do the same thing there. All right, so one of the things I didn't show was how to bring this down and put it back up. So when you get to the site, you have to push up on the bed, lift up on the latch, and then this will kind of spring down. That's, as you can see, it doesn't take a lot of muscle to put it down. So once you get it down, it comes down pretty easy. It has the hydraulics there to assist, and then this part comes down here. It does have a 200-pound limit, so just keep that in mind with whoever is up here. And then when you're putting it up, same thing, you just push it forward and then pull this end up. Hydraulics help again, so it doesn't need too much muscle. Once you push it up here, latch this on. This latch will just kind of get underneath there and secure it into place. That's done. All right, so one thing you want to do once you're bringing in the slide outs, you want to check and make sure there's nothing on the floor. So we've cleaned off everything off the floor, nothing in the way, nothing obstructing here or around the ground back there. So you want to make sure everything's out of the way. Under the bed as well, sometimes there might be something in front of that storage bins. One thing that's super important is you got to move this captain's chair forward. So as you can see, if you start to move the slide out here, it's going to hit the captain's chair, causing a problem. So lift the latch, push that forward, make sure that's clearing out of the way. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and start moving the slide outs in. So now that we've got everything cleared out of the way, you'll come to your control panel, tap the button if it's not on, tap slides, and then we'll start with the bed slide in back, or the bed slide in back. We'll move that in. And then we'll hear it audibly stop. You'll hear that little beeping. That'll let you know that it's in. Now we'll do the bunk slide. Hear the beep again, that stopped. Now the main slide. All right, that is in. All right, next we're gonna raise the levels and get that up off the ground. So you have to turn the engine on to raise the levels. Has to be in brake, which it normally is. If you release the brake, the leveling system will automatically kick in and start to raise up. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna turn it on here. Sometimes you gotta put a little muscle into it. Now it says jacks down, system's on. So all we have to do is press retract all jacks and it'll get to going. This starts flashing, letting us know it's working. And we can hear and feel it doing what it's doing. So once this stops flashing, this will turn off as well, and then we'll know that all the jacks are clear. We're going to do a walkthrough before we go as well, and I'll show you that they are in fact up once we get outside. All right, so you can see underneath that all the jacks are up. See the two over there. Two in the back are up. So we are good to go there. One thing I always do as well is I just check all of the doors, make sure everything's closed, and then we'll use this key to lock everything up just to secure it on the road. And we'll go through and do all that. And then I also just double check all the slides, make sure that they're in fully, and we'll be good to go. All right, now that we've locked everything up, slides look good, we're on our way.